the Chi-Town experience on the flight. Let me go tune in to Keek on the mic. He gon' make sure we get our news and highlights. When you get on YouTube, you better hit the like.
After the 3-day Chicago Bears mandatory minicamp, Ben Johnson and the Chicago Bears are absolutely pumped up about the potential of this key offensive player. Hey, what's going on, Bears fans? Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of Keek on the Mic, the podcast all about the Chicago Bears. As always, if you're new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button and the notification to catch all Bears content right here on the podcast. So Bears fans, first and foremost, happy Friday to every single one of you guys out there. I hope you guys have a really good weekend. As you guys already know, the Chicago Bears just wrapped up their 3-day mandatory minicamp, and now they are off for the rest of the summer until July, where they'll start their training camp. And obviously that's a really exciting time as an NFL fan in general, because that means football is just another day closer. But on today's episode of Keek on the Mic, I want to talk about all the buzz about this one player after the 3-day Chicago Bears mandatory minicamp. And we've been talking a whole lot about Caleb Williams, and obviously Ben Johnson, singled out a couple of guys that really stood out. But there's been a whole lot of buzz around Bears minicamp that wide receiver, second-year receiver out of Washington, Rome Odunze, looked really sharp, and everyone, and this means analysts, coaches, people around the National Football League, after what they saw from Rome Odunze these last couple of days, they are expecting a massive year 2 breakout for the year 2 receiver. And obviously that is really big news. That was Ryan Poles' goal when he drafted Rome Odunze in the first round to pair with Caleb Williams. And obviously you saw their connection last year blossom and saw some flashes, but definitely down the stretch, there were certain areas and certain situations in key moments in football games where Caleb Williams went Rome Odunze's way and he came up clutch every single time. So this was the expectation for Rome Odunze to really take the next step. And once again, we've been talking a whole lot about Caleb Williams, but it's really nice to see that Rome Odunze came back and he is looking really, really sharp. Actually, DJ Moore, actually noticed the significant progress that Rome Odunze made over the offseason. He said, Rome's taking a step this year. I can already tell. And that's obviously big when you have your number one wide receiver in DJ Moore noticing a big difference. We've been talking about this a whole lot of how many weapons Caleb Williams has on the outside, but I feel like Rome Odunze is really the missing piece to really put this offense over the top. Of course, you have DJ Moore. Of course, you have Cole Kmet. Of course, you drafted Colson Loveland and Luther Burden. But I feel like for me as a Bears fan, my attention was on Rome Odunze from the very beginning, just knowing that he was also a first-round pick in last year's NFL draft. That's exactly why Ryan Poles drafted him to pair with Caleb Williams for the foreseeable future. And here's the interesting part about wide receiver Rome Odunze. And we talk about this with Caleb Williams as well, but Rome Odunze was also in a very crappy situation, much like Caleb Williams and the rest of the Chicago Bears roster. In a really crappy situation, Rome Odunze still got 101 targets, 54 catches, 734 receiving yards, and 3 receiving touchdowns. That is not bad whatsoever for a very crappy situation. So obviously DJ Moore has called out and said, hey, I've seen significant progress from Rome Odunze. Ben Johnson definitely likes what he sees from Rome Odunze as well. And Rome Odunze, after the final day of mandatory minicamp, already set some expectations for himself. He wants to be an 1,000-yard receiver. He wants to have double-digit touchdowns. And of course, he wants to help lead the Chicago Bears football team to the NFL playoffs. So I have massive expectations for Rome Odunze, just like any other player on this roster. As long as he continues to stack solid practices, continues that relationship on off the field with Caleb Williams, I have no doubt in my mind that Rome Odunze will be one of the go-to targets for Caleb Williams this year. And that is with all the other weapons that he has. I think Caleb Williams just has a really special bond with Rome Odunze. I think they're going to be a wonderful duo for years to come. So Bears fans, let me know down below in the comment section if you guys are also excited and pumped up to see Rome Odunze in year 2. And do you actually believe that he has the possibility to have a huge breakout year for the Chicago Bears with Ben Johnson as his new play caller. But Bears fans, before I let you guys go on today's episode of Keek on the Mic, I also want to bring up one more thing. And we talked a whole lot about this, about Ben Johnson's transparency towards his players. Obviously, the players will not return until July for the start of training camp. But something really caught my attention. There was a couple of guys that were out via injury for these last couple of days of Chicago Bears mandatory minicamp. And he sent a clear message to not only the players that were injured and didn't participate in this minicamp, but also the players that are not going to return until July for the start of training camp. He said, "For us, training camp's not a get in shape camp. It's a show up in shape camp so we can become a good football team." I absolutely love the competitive edginess of Ben Johnson. I said this before. I'm going to say it again. I feel that on paper, the Chicago Bears finally got their head coaching hire right. He is doing everything a good head coach is supposed to be doing. Once again, for years and years and years, the Chicago Bears, multiple players have come back to training camp out of shape. So instead of worrying about the details and fine-tuning things for the regular season, we have to worry about getting our guys up to speed and getting our guys in shape and then worrying about the details. But by time you are trying to figure out the details, you are already in week 1 and week 2. And that's why the Chicago Bears have had some slow starts and haven't been really successful for, a very long time. But now Ben Johnson is sending a clear message, trying to set this culture here in Chicago, saying, hey, you need to come back to training camp in shape and ready to compete so we can worry about the details, so we can fine tune the issues that we're having on offense, on defense, on special teams, so we can prepare for the regular season. Once again, I'm totally agreeing with him. Training camp is not about conditioning or getting in shape. Training camp is about installing your offense, making sure, once again, you are fine-tuning any issues that you have on your football team and also competing at a high level. So I absolutely love, once again, how Ben Johnson continues to call out every single person on this roster. And I feel like we're in store for a really competitive Chicago Bears training camp, probably the most competitive training camp that we have seen in years. So Bears fans, all I have to say is buckle up, because Ben Johnson has definitely created a very, very competitive culture here in Chicago. But other than that, Bears fans, make sure you guys continue to hit that subscribe button and the notification to catch all Bears content right here on the podcast. Make sure you follow me on all my social media platforms, and make sure you share this episode of Keek on the Mic with every single Bears fan that you know. But other than that, be back for all new Bears podcast right here on Keek on the Mic. Thanks, guys, and as always, bear down.
You ain't bout it, you ain't bout it, you ain't Keek on the Mic. You ain't bout it, you ain't bout it, you ain't Keek on the Mic. You can go and subscribe, cause I be on